Hi everybody, welcome to this week's project. We are going to change out our curtain rod in the beacon, and the reason we're doing that is this curtain rod setup that they have, it's more of a bracket. It's bittersweet. I'll have Beth come in and show you real quick on the bracket. You can see that it has the little loopties, so you can basically put two hangers there and they won't move, which is fantastic, because you know, as you're traveling, you don't have them sloshing back and forth. Unfortunately for us, it just doesn't work. We've tried everything. We've tried the extendable curtain hangers, hangers that you can loop the other hangers into to kind of fold down. And we've just found that this setup just doesn't work for us. So what we're going to do is I'll pull these off here. I just kind of wanted to show you that, you know, they just don't move. So what we're going to do is I'll have Beth come in here. There are 10 screws all the way across here, every foot basically. Well, it's about every 10 inches. And it holds this in place to this upper shelf. So we went to Home Depot and we purchased two of these guys. Yeah, it's just a shelf bracket that has a rod support on it. Those guys, I believe, were $9 a piece. We bought one of these. This, I believe, was $8 as well. You have a loop on one side and a solid mount on the other. Basically, your pole will go into the solid loop, and then you can drop it down in the other side. And then finally, what we'll do is we bought the curtain rod that we'll put in here, or excuse me, closet rod. We bought a 96-inch curtain, or geez, I just keep calling it a curtain rod. Sorry, closet rod. Our opening in this space here is 89 inches. So what we'll do is we'll cut that 7 inches off of that, and then we'll put it in here. So kind of going to show you what we're going to do. We're going to take this rod out, and then my concern is that possibly that rod won't fit in here, because the way that they build these RVs is they build the floor first and then they put these cross walls in as you go. So I'm kind of a little worried that they might have put this section in before they put this wall up here in. We're going to find out real quick. So if I can get this out after I unbolt it and able to get it out, then I know that I'll be able to get that rod in. So we're going to get a couple tools. Basically, we're going to get a Phillips screwdriver. My drill should work in here, so I might just use the drill to back the screws off. I'm not sure. It looks like a 3/8 nylock on the bottom of it. So we'll get a nut driver for that, and we'll just bop them all out real quick, and then we'll pull this out and put our curtain, or like I said, as long as I can get this out, then I know we can get the curtain rod in, and we'll kind of show you the step-by-step as we go. So enjoy, here we go. All right, so I just tested this out. We have a 9mm nut driver. That's what the nuts are, or 11/32. I just figured 9mm would be easier. Little DeWalt screw shooter here real quick, and we're just gonna run this stuff off. Okay, now you're going to get to your last one. I always try to leave the middle one. I'm over by one off the middle, but at least you know that you're going to have this thing drop down on you. So keep that in mind as you're pulling out your last one. If you have it in the middle, it's a little easier to manipulate your bracket and everything else you have going against you. So as you can see, it's starting to drop. And so now, and was kind of the problem I was worried about, is now this will not come out. So basically we're going to have to sit here and go, okay, what are we going to do? I think what I will end up doing is I think I will loosen the shelf, and we'll raise the shelf up a little bit in order to get this out, because that way, as you can see, I'm stuck in the corner up on that end, and I'm right down here on this end. So I have to move one of the two shelves. We'll figure out which shelf to move, and we'll go through that. And the reason I'm saying I'll probably pull the top shelf is because with those brackets I showed you earlier, the shelf support, I will have to notch out this little 1x1 that's behind here, so that they flush against this panel. So that's probably what we'll end up doing, but we're going to kind of regroup here a little bit and look at it, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we end up going to pull off this top shelf here, and the reason being is, and I'll show you, this is where our outside truma is built into here. So this is, it's doable, but it's going to be a major pain in the derriere, to where I can pull off this banding strip that's around here. It goes all the way around. Hopefully we can see that. I know it's kind of dark in there. And then what I'll do is we'll flip this shelf up, and then we can get that bar in and get the new bar, or get this bar out and get the new bar in, and then we can screw that all back together. So that's what we're going to do now. So a lot of these screws you'll see they look like a Phillips head, but they kind of got a big indent on the inside. We've talked about it before. That's what they call a Robinson bit. It's just a square bit. Most of these are, I believe it's an R1, might be an R2. And that just works better. I'll show you here. We'll put one in, and you can see just how well that head fits in here. Now, just like any other project you guys have probably ran across in an RV, is you start out and you're like, all right, this will be pretty simple. We can just whap bam, thank you ma'am, and you find out that it gets a little more in-depth. Every project, it seems to be that way. You'd think we'd learn by now, but, well, we're always trying to improve what we have and make it more suitable for us, right? So that's what we're doing. We're going to try and make this guy a little more suitable for us. So I have 2 more screws to take out of here. And then I'll probably have Beth jump in here and help us, and we'll tweak this up just enough to where we can get this rod out on this side, and then be able to bring that shelf back down without having too much fiasco into there. You might find that you have to pull off some of your edging trim. Don't fret, it's just barely stapled on there, so it's not that detrimental to pop it off real quick, and then you just work it out, and literally you can pull the trim right off. Just be patient, don't force anything. When you get antsy and you force it, that's when you break things. See, they come right out. I loosened it for you. Yes, Beth did loosen it for me. Now please keep in mind, this is for our model number. Your model might be a little different. So we've basically taken the screws out around the perimeter here, and I'm having to take the trim so that we can drop this down a little bit and tweak it like so. Yes, it does seem a little bit more than what we were originally anticipating, but again, it's not that difficult to do. Okay, so we were able to get this manipulated enough to get our bar, just barely loose and out. So just to prove that it is out of there, I'll have Beth walk back and we'll show you that we're totally out of the closet. Now, as funny as that sounds, yes. I'll kind of grab this from Beth real quick and I'll show you guys. We had to pull out all the screws on the bottom, like I said, pull the trim that was in this corner. We probably could have left that trim and that trim over there. We weren't quite sure. Again, I had to pull this trim here, and then we had to manipulate this guy up about like so. So you can see where it was screwed compared to here, in order to get that angle right of getting this out. So now we've got that out. we will, like I said, we will have to notch this guy out in 2 places. I'm just going to use my little multi-tool real quick, just buzz and buzz, pull that little, it's probably 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch gap of wood out so that I can put that bracket in there. These brackets really aren't going to be much of a support. They will be a little bit, but as you see, there's not a lot of support in these guys, so you kind of take it for what you can. It's just going to be more support on the rod that goes across there. So that's what we're going to do now. And if I find out that it's just not enough support of what I want, this guy is an additional support, and it is an angle iron. So what I might totally end up doing is putting this thing back in and use it as a support for that shelf. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and we'll be honest with you. We'll let you know what we find, and we'll plug through here real quick. I might pull out this shoe cubby over here. It's got 6 screws, just so I can see what's behind there for structure wise. So, but like I said, we'll see what we find, because right now there's not much back there. So, all right, on to the next chapter. Okay, so we're back. I pulled out the 6 screws. I kind of left them in there, but we pulled it off enough to take a peek in here. And this guy is pretty stout. All right, and it is exactly as I thought. We have a 1x, so we'll put a support here. We'll put a support, sorry, I'm zoning in way too much. It's exactly what I thought. We don't have any structure behind here. We do have structure here, so we'll put one of our braces here. We'll put another one right here, and we will, now that we've gone through all that work of pulling that old closet rod out, we will put it back in, and that will just give us more support up here. These new brackets actually, let me grab one real quick, will actually mount behind that bar, but they'll be lower, so they won't intrude on each other at all. So we'll keep that guy. Unfortunately, I wish I would have known, but hey, that's why we make these things, is to show you guys so you don't have to go through the multiple steps, and maybe we can cut something out. We still would have had to pull all this out in order to get the new rod in, unless you get a expandable rod or one that is in a sleeve that you can slide across as such. The rod we bought is a 1-piece rod, so that's why we still will have to do this. So what we'll do is we'll go outside, we'll cut that 96-inch rod down to 89 inches. We'll, like I said, we'll pull that 7 inches off of it, and then we'll put our brackets in here. We'll notch this stuff, we'll mount the brackets onto here, and then we'll put our pull in. We'll bring the old, I don't want to call it a rod because it's not really a rod, but we'll bring in the closing angle, I guess we'd call it, put that guy back in here. And that's kind of why I don't get crazy. I looked at this through my head, and I thought that that might be the issue ahead of time, but I was hoping, and you know, well, like I said, every time you get into one of these projects, you always find something that's not right. So that's what we're doing. We're going to go outside, we're going to cut that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, we have the old angle iron in here, as well as the new pull. Now I'll have Beth come in here. I kind of want to show you what we did so that when you go to do this yourself, we had to move this guy all the way up and put the pull and the angle iron up in this corner, just so that we can get it from underneath there up on top of here. Now we're going to kind of leave this right here for right now until I can get the brackets mounted. Those guys will go right here and right here, and then I can work with putting the pull in and then putting that angle bracket back in. Now, we haven't cut anything other than the metal clothing rod pull. Everything else is just going to go right back to how it originally was. So without further ado, we're going to see where we're going to mount our brackets at for our pull, and then we'll notch out our little well, I guess it's a 1/2 by 1/2, a little stripping that's right here, support strip that's on the bottom. So we'll grab our multi-tool and we'll slap that guy together real quick. Okay, so you can see that we have these brackets in here. What we did is, and I'll grab this from Beth real quick, we just notched this out right here, and sorry to zoom across real quick, and there. Now, those guys are going to be flush up here. We screwed into the like 1x3 that's here, and this goes all the way from floor to ceiling. I did put 3 screws in here, 3 in here. Then I put 2 screws straight up into the top bracket here, which you can't see. There's another 1x2 or 1x3 that goes up there. But what I did do a little different is, and I'll have Beth kind of from the top, I drilled a 1/4 inch hole through the top shelf, and I'll put a 1/4 20 carriage bolt through there, so it's a nice smooth head, and I'll bolt that. We put the original clothes hanger back in place. This angle will act as a cantilever across here, give us more support. Now, I have these 2 guys here. These will go on each side of the pole, and this will keep it rigid in place. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. I had to put the pole down into this hole and then up through there when we were putting that in. That typically has a panel in front of it. We took that panel out when we had a water leak prior, about beginning of the winter, and we'll put that guy up here. It was talking about thermal expansion and how we figured that one out. So that was still open. We just kind of left it open throughout the winter to get warm air coming through the closet, but we'll go ahead and we'll button that guy back up. The other thing I want to talk about is the Beth, behind you is a little piece of trim, if you can grab that for me. You can see these little staples here. Okay, they're real small. I take these out when I pull this trim off, and then I have this DeWalt multi-tacker. You can get that Amazon. Maybe we'll throw it down in the description. It does staples, does brad nails, and you can adjust, you know, how deep it goes by the adjustment here. I have a little tiny brad. Well, let's see what side. Oh, yep, they're on this side. I have these little tiny brad nails that I put back in place of those staples. It works really good for me. I've used them throughout the whole house because, or sorry, RV, but it's a house to us. Because a lot of these pop off during travel and everything that I've put one of these little brad nails back in has stayed. So hopefully it doesn't bite me in the butt down the road, but as for right now, they work really good. So I just want to kind of throw out those little tidbits that we use that work for us. So now what we'll do is I will slide this guy on this side, and we'll lift this guy up, and we're going to kind of put it in place. Okay, we're going to have one that's going to be stubborn, is what we're going to do. So it's fighting me a little bit on the old cantilever bracket. So I just slid it to the end. Sorry for the noise here. And now you can see that that side is over there. And I hope you can see on this side. And what we'll do is we'll just mount that, and we'll put the 3 screws in both sides. There's not a lot of support on the sides. That was another reason why we put the brackets in here. Now, as you can see, we still have room to put hangers in here, and we'll still be able to move our clothes back and forth, which is basically what we really wanted to do. Ideally, I would have liked to have taken this out, but I opted to leave it in for additional support. This is just, you know, vinyl wrapped MDF pretty much, so there's not a lot of support there. This cantilever sure made a big difference. You could definitely put a smaller piece of 1/4 inch angle back in there if you wanted to, but this is kind of nice. It gives us another option if we ever get so many clothes that we can't fit them in this closet, we have more room. But that's for another day and another story. So what we'll do is we'll screw these guys in, and then we'll put the, like I said, the carriage bolts up on top here. That's why I put those 1/4 inch holes in there, so that we'll have a nice smooth transition up there. So I'll slap those guys in real quick. We'll put the shoe cubby back, and then we'll show you what the final product is. Hi everybody, well, we are done. I kind of want to show you the finished product and things that we picked up from it. So inside our closet here, we now have no clothes. It's great. No. We put in our rod here, and you know, I can pull on that thing. We're going to hold all of our clothes on there, no problem. Now there is, well, I don't know, probably about 3/4 of a gap. It's just enough to get a hanger in through there. We will probably bring back our metal hangers that we like. We didn't have them over here just because of the way it was set up. We got our kick panels back in that we talked about of why we had those out. And everything is back together, and it looks great. And the only thing I have to do is put 2 carriage bolts up here on the L bracket, which I'll run to the local Home Depot, and we'll slap those guys in. Like I said, I just did a 1/4 inch hole, so I'll just buy a quarter 20 bolt and carriage bolt, so it's nice and smooth up on top. And we've got our whole closet back. Now the things that I picked up from that is, again, we talked about earlier in the video of how they assemble these, and I knew that that was going to be a problem. So my big I guess hint or recommendation that I would put out is try to get a 2-piece curtain rod. If you can, excuse me, clothes rod. You're gonna have to bear with me, people. I just call it a curtain rod, even though I know it's a clothes rod. So this closet rod, get a 2-piece. It'd make life a lot easier. You wouldn't have to go through all the steps that we did of having to remove this shelf, bend it up, and to get everything in here. A 2-piece, you'd be able to slide that side in, that side. I still recommend putting in your supports across here. Remember, these things are a moving earthquake as we go down the roads, and that's a lot of weight to bounce up and down on here. So these 2 supports, or even 3 if you want to, I think is the way to go. If you guys got any questions, you know what to do. Hit them down in the comment section. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week.